I love you too. Thanks for earning it. You're awesome.
Love you. You're awesome too.
Thanks, honey. I'm giving you a quick hug.
Love you, Mom.
Love you too. Love you as big as the world. Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Han, and today I've created a pretty fun tag video that I wanted to share with you all. This is the hashtag beloved characters tag. I don't know about you, but there's no better time in the world than fall time for movies, TV, books, all of those beloved characters that we hold near and dear to our hearts. I feel like fall is just the time where they were geniusly created. And that's kind of what inspired this tag, and more specifically the first prompt and my answers for that really helped to build this tag, so we'll get into that in a minute. But how this tag works is you're going to pick your favorite characters. You can do more, you can do less, it's kind of fluid and up to you, but what you have to do for each character is you pick a deck that you feel exemplifies them and their personality and who they are, a deck that like matches them, a deck that if they were into tarot they would probably use. And then the second part of that prompt is to pick a card that matches their personality from that deck. So who are they in the tarot? Picking those and kind of saying why. So I don't want this to be too terribly long, but let's get into it. So I've grouped mine by fandoms. And I'm starting today with Gilmore Girls because Gilmore Girls is quintessentially fall, all the vibes, back to school, like, and it's in the early 2000s. It's such a vibe. It's so perfect. I love it so much. I've watched it so many times, it's hard to count. And now that we're, in fall, getting closer every day, I'm ready to start from the beginning. This is the fandom that really helped me create this tag, that gave me the idea. So I'm doing two characters, and my two favorite characters in Gilmore Girls is Emily Gilmore and Jess Mariano. So we're going to start with Emily. And for those of you unfamiliar with some of the characters, I'm going to kind of talk about them a little bit before introducing the deck and the cards. So Emily is very classy. Status is very important to her, and hierarchy and structure and following the social rules, but she also carries like an underlying hurt and pain to her that I think causes her to be a little bit, more sticklery. So the deck that I felt that exemplified that in a way is the Ethereal Visions Tarot. So Ethereal Visions is opulent. It uses more pastel or leans on the cooler side of the spectrum rather than warm. It has deep emotional undercurrents though. Yes, it is very flashy and beautiful on the surface, but when you kind of sit with it, you have a conversation with it, you use it, it kind of uncovers some deeper hidden truths about it. And so in that way, I feel like this would be a deck. Not that Emily Gilmore would ever read tarot, because she wouldn't, but she's done some surprising things in her trajectory that we see unfold in the series. So, never put it past her. But for that reason, I feel like this matches Emily to a T. This is the deck that she would use. And the card that I have chosen as her archetype or personality match is the Queen of Swords. The reason I chose the Queen of Swords is because she is regal, she is commanding, she is sharp, and sometimes because her domain is the swords and air and communication, it might cause her to be more emotionally distant than other court cards, let's say specifically. So Emily Gilmore for me is the Queen of Swords. Next, we are doing Jess Mariano, and I love Jess. Jess is who I root for. I think that Rory and Jess should have ended up together. I think when they split ways, that they each grew in a way that matured. Well, maybe more Jess than Rory, let's be honest. But I feel like Jess became the perfect partner for Rory. To rewind it a little bit, Jess Mariano is a love interest of Rory Gilmore, one of the main characters of the show. He is that bad boy. He comes from like a troubled background, and he is wholeheartedly misunderstood. He has a bad rap that kind of follows him into this small town where Rory is like the goody two-shoes girl and Jess is the bad boy, and of course they're magnetic towards each other because they're opposites. So the deck that I felt really matched Jess was the Alchemy of Thoth. This is kind of moody and dark, and I just felt that matched Jess pretty well. But I would say even the Crawley Thoth would be a good choice. But this is the one that I have. But I think that it's perfect, and it's still in order because I haven't spent much time with it, and I want to do it justice. So let's talk a little bit about this deck. So the Alchemy of Thoth, and Thoth in general, is really cerebral, right? There's a lot of layers to it. It is pretty complex, and I also think, you know, that kind of exemplifies Crowley a little bit as well. Very complex, lots of layers. This specific copy has like a darkness to it, and just the way that the composition of the collage, I feel like, is very edgy and punk. It feels punk to me. And so Jess is very punk to me, at least in his attitude, the way he dresses, the fact that he has all the potential in the world. He is such an intelligent being. He's into reading a lot of awesome books, and he has good music taste, and he is refined in a way, but his like punk attitude kind of takes it down a couple notches, if you will. And so because of that, the card that I have picked to represent Jess is the Page of Swords, and in Thoth it's the Princess of Swords. So sorry, Jess, I know that would bother you a lot, but the reason I chose it is because the Page of Swords is skeptical, questioning, very independent, and very observant in nature. And I feel like all those traits explain Jess a lot and are Jess. The next fandom that I'm moving into is Game of Thrones, yes. And the two characters I have chosen today are Eddard Stark and Tormund Giantsbane. So let's talk about Eddard. Eddard is loyal, he's very loving. He has that teacher archetype to him, but also he's a leader. And so looking through my collection, if you know anything about Game of Thrones, Eddard and his family live in the north, which is winter basically all the time. And so I chose this deck not only because it's one of my most wintry decks, but it just feels airy. And that's kind of how I feel Eddard is. He's very airy. And so I've chosen Anima Mundi. Anima Mundi and Eddard go hand in hand because there's justness, there's a leadership quality, there's warrior aspect to Eddard. And because of all of those things, I found that this deck exemplifies that. And furthermore, nature is a great example of all of those things. And this deck is very nature-based. There's only one human depicted in this deck, and it's the devil. I'm sure you've seen it before, you might have this deck. But the color tones, the depth, it's all in all a darker toned deck. A lot of night skies, a lot of deep blues, a lot of grays. So I felt that that matched the tone that I was going for with Eddard Stark. And the specific card that I've chosen is none other than the King of Swords. And I chose the King of Swords because he is of moral clarity. He's an upholder of the law and a truth teller. And that to me is who Eddard Stark is. I will say that Game of Thrones was one of the hardest fandoms for me just to choose two because I adore a lot of the characters. I had Brienne of Tarth on there. I had Tyrion on there. You know, I do like Jon Snow. Samwell Tarly I had on there. But I think when distilled down, deep down, Eddard and Tormund are just the gems of it for me. And I was so excited to talk about Tormund. I love Tormund so much. He is wild and he is funny and you get a kick out of him. And he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he's also a skilled enough like warrior. And so I chose the Serpent and the Peacock as his deck. And I think it's so perfect. And the reason why it's perfect is because on the outside, it looks like a little intimidating, a little stiff, a little like it could be cerebral like the Thoth. And it's not to say that it isn't those things, right? But when you get to know it and you look on the inside and you spend time with this deck, you get to know that it's quite funny and quite endearing. It has a lot of personality. It has a lot of characters in here that just give me a chuckle. But when I read with it, I do get really great messages, you guys. They come in clear. Yes, they make me giggle, but it's got some depth to it and it's pretty dang accurate, I will say. And so I just felt like there couldn't be a more perfect deck in my mind to represent Tormund than this one. And furthermore, the card that I chose, the Knight of Wands, as Tormund's card, as his personality, his archetype, because the Knight of Wands is a little impulsive. It's a brave knight. has wild energy, that fire, you know, has bold charisma. And the fact that it's a woman knight, like Tormund would eat that up. Like he was kind of like lusting after Brienne. And I just feel like he would also fall in love with this Knight of Wands as well. All right, the next fandom I'm moving on to is also the only fandom I've chosen one character, and that's Howl's Moving Castle. And the character I've chosen is Howl because, you know, Howl, he's kind of a ham. But he is caring and loving, but very vain and glamorous. And so for him, I have chosen Astraea's Dream. And as you can see, and I almost wanted to pick this top card here as the card that represents him because visually it's like on point, but the card that it is, I'm like, not exactly the right matchup title-wise. So Howl is very dreamy and beauty is important to him, and like there's a hidden power, a higher consciousness, a vulnerability to him that really comes forward if you read the book or if you watch the movie. I have both read the book and watched the movie. I just feel that this deck has a lot of beauty, a lot of color, and it makes you stop and look at it, right? You're not just going to walk by this deck and not look at it. You're going to double take because it's so bright and the colors pull you in, but also like what's going on in them is really fascinating and it's interesting and it's dynamic. And so for that reason, I just felt like Astraea's Dream was the perfect aesthetic match, and it brings in again that higher consciousness, higher power type of vibe in message wise and theme, and I just feel like that also matches Howl really, really well. And so the card that I chose to represent Howl is the moon. So the moon is about illusion, it is about beauty, and it's also very mysterious. And I feel like Howl is all of those things. Okay, the next fandom I want to move into is Saga, and it's a comic series, and as a prelude, I'm just going to introduce it with some things here. So this is Saga, and it is a comic series, and I have, I forget how many volumes. I think I have 11. I'm not sure what they're up to now, but I kind of wait for a bunch of them to come out in this format. I mean, you can buy the individual comics themselves. There's chapters within these, or you can buy like an ultimate book that has so many more, but this is like a space saga. So I'm going to read the back here so you have some context. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this, but Saga is the sweeping tale of one young family fighting to find their place in the universe. When two soldiers from opposite sides of a never-ending galactic war fall in love, they risk everything to bring a fragile new life into a dangerous old world. Fantasy and science fiction are wed like never before in the first volume of this sexy, subversive, ongoing epic. And I think I couldn't have described it more perfectly than that. So, the two characters I'm picking from this saga is, first of all, Lion Cat. Now, I have a little pop here of Lion Cat. I actually have more versions of him. Kind of like, you gotta collect them all kind of vibes for that. But I'll show you. This is Lion Cat here, and his name kind of gives away, let's see, I think I have another marked version here of him. Now, I had to tab these, well, not only to find them more easily, but this is a comic series that's not safe for work, and most of the pages are not safe for YouTube. So just know going into that, if this kind of artwork, if you like this artwork, if the synopsis kind of matched and you want to dive in, just know that you're going to be seeing a lot of like graphic things along with it. But I feel like the overarching story is really beautiful and like keeps me in it. So this is the Lion Cat, and this is his original owner, Will. And Will is kind of like a bounty hunter, but yeah, this is Lion Cat. And Lion Cat is honest and truthful and loyal and very protective, as his name would suggest. So the deck that I picked for this to represent Lion Cat is the Spacious Tarot. And the reason that I picked the Spacious Tarot is because the Spacious Tarot has a lot of clarity to it, right? Because of the perspective, the unique perspective that it brings. There's no humans in it to kind of cloud the judgment of a reading with this. And it also, because of that, it extends, I feel like it has this beyond human emotion element to it. It's just very honest, and yeah, the depictions don't sway you one way or the other with humans. The absence of kind of leaves this space for so much more to come forward. And so that's why it's aptly named. But the card that I have picked, I think this was the most straightforward character. I have edged mine in different colors, which is super fun. But anyway, the card that I have picked for Lion Cat kind of goes along with how like straightforward everything else has been. This was the easiest character to do. And I picked Judgment because Judgment is truth laid bare, a call to truth beyond comfort. And that's exactly, and throughout the series in the comics, you'll see Lion Cat, and his ability is he can tell when people are lying, and he'll say it. He's a talking cat, and he'll say lying. I just adore Lion Cat. I think half of it is because he's a cat. But yeah, I just really adore the Lion Cat. And then the second character I've chosen in this fandom is Prince Robot 4. And I will show you him. This is Prince Robot 4 right here. And I have another really great image, but I had to block off this page. Yeah. So Prince Robot 4 is very complex. He is morally ambiguous, which I personally love morally gray and ambiguous characters. I think it makes it super interesting. He has a lot of internal conflict, and his ultimate goal in this series is redemption. So he's on the path of redemption. Yeah, that definitely like that prince complex, that trying to prove to his family, and more so like the males of his family, what's what with him, you know, matching up to that. And the deck that I picked for this, and I've come to realize now that if there was any deck out there that matched the vibes of the whole series, it would be this one. And that is Zeke's Arcana. I just feel like this deck could have been inspired by Saga. I mean, I don't know if that's the case, but you'll kind of see what I mean here. So obviously there's that fantasy tie. It's like directly why I chose this. But also the fact that there's kind of like different characters in here. They're all a little oddball. And as you saw there in Saga, we have a talking cat that tells everyone when they're lying. And we have a prince robot with a computer head and a human body. So it's very otherworldly. And this deck is very otherworldly. But more than that, there's an opulence to this deck that Prince Robot 4 has that he just carries on his shoulders. He likes the finer things in life. He likes his leisure time. But I think he's one of the most complex characters that you come across in the series. And so for that reason, the card that I chose to represent him is the Tower. The Tower is about inner collapse and that inner reckoning that leads to healing. And this is 100% Prince Robot 4's trajectory in Saga. Like, there isn't a more perfect card. His world gets thrown upside down. Like I said, he's morally ambiguous. Is he good? Is he bad? We don't know, right? And he doesn't even know. He thinks he's one way, but is he? He doesn't even know. So yeah, for that reason, the Tower was just too perfect of a card. This pair is definitely the most perfect pair that I feel like I've done. Okay, we're down to our two last fandoms. The next fandom I have is Dragon Ball Z. Near and dear, classic favorite of pretty much the world, right? But there are two characters in here that just have stolen my heart. And the first one I want to talk about is Whis. And Whis is very calm. He's aloof. He is composed. He is wise, but he's not a know-it-all. He just knows all this information. And he serves as a guide. He has that guide archetype. And so I picked the Starseeker Tarot to represent Whis. And I actually would say that more than the tarot, the Starseeker Oracle actually would have been the more perfect match, but I was going all tarot here today. But the Starseeker has this ethereal otherworldliness to it in some of the cards. It is packaged very elegantly, not only like the artwork I just find really great, but that luxurious rose petal finish is very elegant. And Whis and his counterpart that he guides are all about the finer things in life as well. They like their food, they like their leisure time, and just, yeah, the finer things in life. And this deck is also very like grounded and rooted and supportive when I've used it, and has a calm presence to it as well. I think that's like the dreamy quality of the colors used and the type of artwork that it is. And so for Whis, the card that I have chosen to represent him is Temperance, for that divine patience and alchemical balance that really leans into who Whis is as a person. There couldn't be a more perfect card, I feel like, to represent Whis. The second character in Dragon Ball Z that I've chosen today is Whis's counterpart, Beerus. So I love a grumpy archetype. I cannot get away from the grumps. So Beerus is another cat. So points right there. But he's a purple cat. And he's grumpy, but he's playful. He's a little hedonistic. He's arrogant. He's confident. And he is the god of destruction. And so the deck that I chose to match Beerus is the Anthropologist Tarot. This deck is really kind of out there. It's a little crazy. It has a lot going on to it. It has like this decisive sharpness in some of the cards, but it can be really, really soft in others. And boy, I wish, I mean, maybe I'll just do it, but YouTube has been upsetting me about the, oh, what's the word? I'll put it on the screen. I can't think of it right now, but censorship. There we go. It has been censoring everything because we are all just so immature and we can't handle, YouTube can't handle it. But I'm going to show you anyway. This is the star. So in some of the cards, it's very sharp and decisive in nature. And in other cards, like the star card there, it's very, very soft and it's colorful and fun, but it knows when to cut the rope. It just knows. It knows how to do that so well. It will never let you down in making a decision and sticking with it and committing to it. It's always going to do that for you. I just found that that's so perfect for Beerus because he is all of those things. He's like very grumpy and he has a job to do, right? He's the god of destruction. But along the way, you kind of see his softer side. He is a cat at the end of the day as well. And cats like sleep, you know, they like their belly rubs or their ear scratches, you know? And so the card that I chose for Beerus, and this one might be interesting for those of you who know Beerus or no Dragon Ball Z, but I chose the Fool. And because there's this, like, especially in this deck, and yes, I did cover the fear so I could talk about it, but this Fool in this deck has like this chaotic yet neutral god energy, and it lives in the moment without fear, and that is 100% Beerus. He lives and goes through his life without fear because what is there more to fear than the god of death, and that, or the god of destruction rather, sorry, and that is who he is. So really, who else does he have to fear? And I saved probably the most emotionally tied fandom for last, and the most important for me. So if you have made it this far, I appreciate it so much. This is the fandom that is most near and dear to me and forever will be, and that is Seabiscuit. So Seabiscuit is, of all of these, a real historical horse. Place in time, 1930s. Great Depression era. There's books written about Seabiscuit. There's movies, right? Like it says here. But it's a real historical thing that happened. And it is my most favorite movie. It matters so greatly to me, Seabiscuit, and what his story is and what he stands for. And I'm trying so hard not to get emotional, but it is emotional for me. So the two characters, or the two people, figures that I've chosen. The first one is Red Pollard, and Red Pollard was Seabiscuit's jockey. And I have a few pictures. There's pictures in this book. So this is Red Pollard right here in some of his getup. And let's see, another picture of him. This is also Red here, not Seabiscuit's. Do I have another Red that I've taped on? Right here. Such a great photo. And I'm gonna leave it here as I talk about Red. But Red is determined. He's a fighter. He can be sassy and sarcastic, but that comes from a very sensitive and guarded place. If you watch the movie or read the book here, you know that his life during the Depression specifically, there was a lot of loss for Red. And the fact that he was a jockey that is characteristically, besides, you know, his shorter stature, which he was on the edge of not, you know, being worthy of being a jockey. And the deck that I picked is the Ostara Tarot. The reason why is because the Ostara Tarot is very sensitive. It's a deck that you have to take your time in order to get to know and understand. It doesn't line up perfectly with the RWS, and you kind of have to know the images, what they're saying, to be able to distinguish it from another sometimes, especially within the courts. It is a deck that is very steadfast, very knowledgeable, deeply knowing, portrays the hard times, the good times. It's just a very special deck in that way, and it's one of my favorites. And the card that I have chosen that matches Red is the Nine of Wands. And the Nine of Wands is very battle-worn, right? But still standing. And that right there, battle-worn but still standing, is Red, is his story. It is an emotionally scarring type of card. It can be, but it's resilient. That's what the Nine of Wands is all about, is resilience. Even in the face of all your wounds and your scars, you are resilient. You get back up again. And yeah, I just felt like that It was the perfect match for red. And now I've truly saved the best for last, and I couldn't do a Seabiscuit section without doing Seabiscuit himself. So let me show you Seabiscuit. There he is in a race. Again, here he is in motion in the Santa Anita Handicap, 1938. Again, the picture we saw earlier with red. In the race against War Admiral, which you can view on tape, like it's recorded, and it gives me the chills. But the image that I will leave it on here is with red. I mean, what a beautiful horse. But Seabiscuit is fierce and strong, competitive, but he is above everything else the underdog. And the deck that I wanted to pair that represented Seabiscuit to me is the Fountain Tarot. And I've spoken about this deck a lot, and in my humble opinion, this deck is very misunderstood. It has a heart of gold. It is a true companion for me, and it fought its way into my life, and it is never leaving. And that's how I feel about Seabiscuit. Seabiscuit found me not only when I needed it most, because I first saw the movie when it came out in the early 2000s. I was a kid, and it was in my horse era. I did not have a horse, and I've always had a special kinship with horses and what they exemplify, their spirit, that they are very sensitive souls. They're so strong and powerful at the same time. And this deck has a similar feeling for me. I ignored this deck for a long time because of what everyone else was saying about it. It was cold and it was harsh, and they didn't like the figures depicted in it. They didn't understand why things were being shown the way that they were shown. Nobody was truly positive about this deck whenever I would see reviews, walkthroughs, flip-throughs. I mean, and this was a while ago, you guys. This was a while ago. But this deck truly has a heart of gold. It's always there for me. It's a true companion. And so Seabiscuit is that. He's the underdog. Through an era where struggle was at its highest, and they continually put that horse down and didn't give it its true potential in life. They deemed him lazy and unfit, and all they had to do was treat him with kindness to see the fierce competitive side of him come through. And that's what happened when he got into the right hands and the right owners and the right people. They let him be him. They let him be Seabiscuit. And some days that would be sleeping in and being lazy and eating. And other days it would be fierce training, right? They just let him be him. And so the card that I think about when I think about Seabiscuit is the Strength card. The Strength card is the embodiment of courage, heart, quietly heroic underdog, determination, resilience. And again, that's that tie with red, the resilient part. Both of them had really crappy upbringings in life, but they both had raw heart. And so that is why these two, out of all the ones on the list, are most important to me. They mean the world to me, and I don't know, I go through, and I was talking to my partner about this, and this is like very raw, unfiltered, very me right now. Just the truth as it is, but I think I mourn the fact that I can't live in the same era where this horse was alive to be able to see it, to see him have such a deep connection to this animal, and this animal is no longer alive. We were born in different eras. And I get emotional about it because truly, if there was any one being I could meet, dead or alive, it would be Seabiscuit. Just to be able to see him, feel him, because I know the raw energy of his story, and it moves me, and he's not even here. Right? And I think I feel like that underdog. So I have that personal connection. So I think that's why it's so deeply tied to me. But anyway, Seabiscuit always gets me emotional. It never fails. Anyway, you guys, that was the tag that I have created, #beloved_characters tag. If you want to participate, please do. This is for everyone. I want to see your answers. I want to see the characters that you love and that mean the most to you and that you love so much that you want to pick a deck that represents them and then pick a card from that deck that also represents them as well. Please make sure you at me, give me a shout if you've done a response to this. And thank you guys so much for spending time with me today, especially those of you who made it to the last portion of the video, the last two characters there. I love you all, and until next time, see you around.